Thank you very much for joining us again for a weekly recap. This is Philip Stuckey with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
And this is Henry Rogers with the Daily Caller News Foundation.
So, there's two really big topics this week. First of all, North Korea's Kim is dominating the headlines, and President Donald Trump seems more than happy to make this a bigger deal and make sure that it stays at the top of the headlines. After the Supreme Leader launched a series of missiles that are capable of carrying nuclear weapons, Trump responded by signing an order that imposed greater sanctions on this rogue nation.
North Korea's nuclear weapons and missile development is a grave threat to peace and security in our world, and it is unacceptable that others financially support this criminal rogue regime. The brutal North Korean regime does not respect its own citizens or the sovereignty of other nations. Our new executive order will cut off sources of revenue that fund North Korea's efforts to develop the deadliest weapons known to humankind.
Well, Philip, as you can see, Trump is very frustrated with Kim Jong-un and the threats, the ongoing threats that this rogue nation has been putting on the United States. So, Kim Jong-un doesn't really seem that to be very scared.
Not at all. In fact, basically, this is his response here. I am thinking hard about what response he could have expected when he allowed such eccentric words to trip off his tongue. Whatever Trump might have expected, he will face results beyond his expectation. Kim later, of course, went on to say, I will surely and definitely tame the mentally deranged U.S. Dotard with fire. And, of course, in true Trump fashion, it didn't take long for him to respond.
Of course, Philip. Trump instantly jumped on Twitter right after Kim Jong-un's message saying, quote, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, who is obviously a madman who doesn't mind starving or killing his people, will be tested like never before. So, I mean, that's a pretty strong response from Trump.
Yeah.
It's pretty frightening, I would think. You'd think that the North Koreans might be shaking over there from a statement like that.
Definitely.
But what we really want to know is what the hell Dotard means.
Yeah. Now, of course, and everybody else really seems to be wondering that too. MerriamWebster dictionary actually tweeted out, Kim Jong-un calls Trump a mentally deranged U.S. Dotard. Searches for Dotard are high as a kite, when, of course, everyone really knows that Dotard is, well, a word that nobody really knows or uses. So it's pretty incredible. I'm gambling, really, that this was a kind of a translator error, and which, of course, turned out to not really, kind of really dilute the whole message. But so we're going to pivot to the next thing, of course, now that we've got the world denomination out of the way. First of all, so President Trump has been very involved in the Alabama special election to replace former Senator Jeff Sessions. Now, there's a pretty important runoff this election, and it's actually going to be this week. It's the Alabama Republican primary to decide who will face off against the Democratic contender Doug Jones. Either former state Supreme Court Justice Roy Moore or sitting Senator Luther Strange. Henry, why is this race important?
Well, Philip, this is a very big race for the GOP. This is another chance for the GOP to gain a Senate seat under Trump's reign here as President of the United States.
That's right.
Now, if the GOP were to pull this off, this would be this would give them huge momentum going into the Senate to get things done here. I mean, if we add another seat to the GOP, it will be quite hard for Democrats to really get their messages across, as well as the point I might make that it will kind of give people a perspective on how the GOP currently feels about Trump.
That's exactly true. And, of course, President Donald Trump has been campaigning and tweeting very heavily in favor of Luther Strange, which is interesting because a lot of other conservatives have gone against Strange and Trump and supported Roy Moore. The first tweet, of course, that President Donald Trump sent, he said, "We'll be in Alabama tonight. Luther Strange has gained mightily since my endorsement, but we'll be very close. He loves Alabama, and so do I."
And he followed up saying, quote, Alabama is so lucky to have a candidate like Big Luther Strange. Smart, tough on crime, borders and trade, loves vets and military. Tuesday.
That was a lot of words put together with a lot of a lot of exclamation points. Now, of course, President Donald Trump followed up by adding that the NRA strongly endorses Luther Strange for Senator of Alabama, and that means that all gun voters should vote for Big Luther. He won't let you down.
And then again, Trump tweeting for Strange, saying, Senator Luther Strange has gone up a lot in the polls since I endorsed him a month ago. Now a close runoff. He will be great in D.C.
Now let's talk about the polling in this race for a second, because the most recent poll published Thursday revealed the race was essentially in a dead heat, which is really particularly of interest because not only has President Donald Trump been throwing a lot of his star power in favor of Luther Strange, but also he's a sitting senator, and he should have a little bit better. And of course, that's definitely important given the fact that the August primary election wasn't exactly close either. Roy Moore managed to maintain much higher numbers compared to Luther in the results during the August primary. And of course, basically neither candidate, although was able to get 50% of the numbers based on really, according to some pundits, because Sarah Palin and other conservatives entered the race in favor of other Republican candidates. So now that, so basically, the race is a lot closer than it should be, given the fact that President Donald Trump has a major endorsement.
Absolutely, Philip. And of course, now President Donald Trump will be going down to Alabama today to be rallying with Strange to add some more competition on the Trump end. As we know, folks, this race has kind of been centered around Trump, and they've made it that way, especially in that Fox News interview on Thursday with Strange, where he kind of pushes his message for how much he really loves Trump.
Well, I think it's a critical election, frankly, if we're going to have someone in Washington who will help the president pass his agenda. And Julia, Alabama was at the forefront of helping the president get elected. We love the president in Alabama. We want to see his agenda passed. And the short time I've been in Washington, we've sort of bonded with some of the challenges that we both have been frustrated with, the lack of progress, lack of ability to solve problems. I've got a record of taking on the tough challenges. He certainly does. And so I've really appreciated his personal friendship and obviously his willingness to come here to Alabama in the midst of everything he has going on to campaign for me. I couldn't be happier, and I think it'll send a strong message to the voters. We developed a personal friendship of trust and respect. I respect his background, what he's trying to do, the challenges he's taking on, and I think he recognizes that in my background. I've literally drained the swamp in Montgomery, convicting a Republican Speaker of the House. Didn't win me any friends, but that's what you have to do if you're really going to make a difference. And so I think we've just got a personal relationship, and he needs a partner in Washington desperately. The fact that the president's coming in and the vice president on Monday night, to have the president and the vice president say, this is the guy we need in Washington because we can work with him, he's effective, and he understands how to get things done. I think that's going to be the difference in the race. I really do. And I've accomplished lots of things as AG and as the Senate. And that's what the president, I think, is supporting me. He wants somebody who can get things done.
Well, that is a candidate that is desperately clinging to President Donald Trump.
I would say it's a smart move.
It is a smart move, I think. Honestly, I think at this point, it's the only kind of play he makes, especially when you have a lot of conservatives in the race. But thank you very much for joining us at the weekly recap here. We only had time for 2 stories today, but they are driving the stories of the week, and they're really going to be important going on as well, especially since that runoff election is coming up. But thank you very much for joining us here. This is Philip Stuckey with the Daily Caller News Foundation at The Real P. Stuckey on Twitter.
And this is Henry Rogers at the Daily Caller News Foundation. And you can follow me on Twitter. It's at Henry Rogers, DC.
Thank you very much, and hope you have a great day.